actually a portion that came out of my literature review for my dissertation, and I am using it actually for a presentation today. First advantage for online education has to do with course design. If you do not design your course properly, students will not be able to navigate it. The one thing I've seen in a lot of my online courses, a lot of students who have gotten so used to working with traditional education, they get an online education and they have a question for every single thing. Why? No troubleshooting, lack of internet capability, lack of taking classes online, and oftentimes that's terrifying, especially for non-traditional students. My own mother took her entire master's online, and she was terrified when she didn't get a response from her instructor immediately. She's used to traditional education, okay? So I had to call her and let her know it's going to be okay. But at the same token, she didn't need help in 24 hours. She needed help right now, okay? So course design has a lot to do with the actual course you're teaching and your connection with your online division or your instructional technologists. You have to be on one accord with those people. If you do not, students will ask you a question and you may not be able to have an answer for them. That's advantage one. Why is this an advantage? First of all, face-to-face is as it's always been. I can see you and you can see me. But in online, I have to create other characteristics so that you can learn more about me as your instructor. You will probably never see me in real life outside my phone, but I need to find a way to connect with you, either through a game, through an icebreaker, through a discussion board post, or even through email. Somehow, I have to find a way to get a connection to bridge between you and I. And not just student to instructor, but also student to student. There has to be interaction with students online. Without it, students begin to feel isolated. They begin to feel pushed back, and when you lose them, you don't get them back. Okay? So that's another advantage. Think about your online courses that you're teaching. Think about ways that you can use this actual conference and what you've learned and implement it into your classrooms. Why? Because students think it's super cool that their faculty members have actually gone to places they've never been. The comparison for online is normally directed towards self-paced learners. The courses that I teach in math at EKU normally are within 4-week modules. Those students have the opportunity, of course it's not just the only class, it's the A, B, and C module, but those students have a chance to work at their own pace to get beyond the obstacles that they've experienced. Now, what is my role online? I need to be there to facilitate discussions. I need to be there to answer phone calls, to answer emails. Why? Because online students have the most questions. Because they really feel like if I ask a question, my teacher's not going to email me back. There's a reason why I always have my cell phone with me, even at this conference, because a student is going to have a question. Now, for EKU, school doesn't start till January 17th, but I got a question today. Okay? Accessibility. Are you accessible to your students? And if not, how can you be? How can you encourage more engagement online? For online, engagement is the greatest key to keeping everybody on the same page. You'll have some that are high, you'll have some that are low. The main thing is everybody's participating. One disadvantage. Based on the way a lot of math courses are taught and other courses are taught, sometimes they're not suitable for all students. When I say not suitable, what that means is you cannot upload a PowerPoint or a Prezi that is 100 slides and assume that your students are going to watch it. It's not going to happen. Okay? We have short attention spans as students and even as adults. I can remember what you said in the first 2.5 minutes of a 20-minute speech. Now, if you go beyond that, it won't work out. It's the same thing for our students. We have to create items for them, such as lectures, that are short, to the point. You will not be able to talk on 20 different concepts in one video. Do not attempt that. Do not attempt that, okay? Your instructional technologist should tell you not to attempt that. It will not work. Students do well with small bits of information. Do not send them 20 videos in 1 week. They're not going to watch it, okay? Work with them at a slow pace so that as online students, everybody can work together to complete their assignments and even their discussions and quizzes. Online for me has been exciting. I've been doing it for 9 years. And I happen to have my dream job where I'm able to do traditional and online at the same time. The best part is last semester, I only had to come to class 2 days a week. And that was Tuesday and Thursday. So it worked out really well. The alternative for online students is group work. How do you get these students talking to each other? They'll talk to me, of course. But how do you get them talking to each other? You design a group project that is centered around what they like to do. For example, this upcoming semester, I'm going to create a group project around the television show, How to Get Away with Murder. Why? Because that's what students are watching. That's what I'm watching. I want to be able to connect with them and say, can you understand why in the television world they show you the end and then they show you the beginning? It gets them thinking critically. One, they're going to watch the show. Two, they know they have to write a paper on it, so they're going to pay attention. And three, they're able to look at patterns. I'm a kid that grew up in the Inspector Gadget era. And it wasn't until I got in my 20s that I realized it was the exact same script for every single episode. You'd be surprised. Now, I miss the bus every day, going to school to watch Inspector Gadget. But it wasn't until I got in my 20s and started thinking critically, why did this particular executive producer choose the same pattern, but we were still captured? So what can you do in your online courses that utilizes a model to capture your students? Basically, you're their television camera. How do you produce your class to the place where everybody wants to be under your lens? If they're not, how do you go catch them? How do you go find them? Mixed mode and hybrid instruction. This is the merge between traditional and online education. What happens is, in a lot of cases, you have traditional lectures and online homework, or you have online homework and in-person work. Either way, it gives students the best of both worlds. You have students who really can't decide on whether they want to take total online or total traditional. Some of them may not have that option based on their work schedules, but the option is there. The greatest part of education, students can take online classes, they can take traditional classes, they can take hybrid classes, they can take them all at one time, and they don't have to make a choice. What I learned in my actual dissertation is that younger students prefer online greater than older students. And then I sent for my good mother to prove my point. She actually did speak in my dissertation. And she did speak to the committee regarding her experience as an older online student. She absolutely hated the idea of having to wait for a response, because every instructor doesn't have their email connected to their phone like I do. Some professors don't do it because they think it's invasive. But when she spoke, they listened. Even though it was my defense, when she spoke, they understood that as an older student, it's essential to have that connection, to be engaged. And even though she was engaged, she still had to wait a while for that response. So overall, there's many advantages and disadvantages. Students have to decide what environment works for them. That's the end of my presentation. Any questions?